try to emphasize this as much as possible, and I even had to do this recently with some close family friends. You've got to take care of your health. You have to take vitamins. You have to eat right. You have to. If you don't do that, your body doesn't function well. That includes your immune system. Includes everything. It includes, inflammation. It causes a host of diseases in your body. Yes. You got to take care of yourself, and that should be the most important message that everyone's putting out, not just podcasters, but the government, health officials. Everyone should be saying that. You should really supplement with vitamins. You should really, get your nutrient levels checked if you can.
Even if you can't do those things, though, like you can eat decently.
You can eat decently.
You can try to exercise moderately. Look, I know a lot of people have, complicated lives. They have kids. They have work. They gotta, they don't have much time.
I get it.
But like, if you even if you can work out like a half hour a day, 3 days a week, and not eat too much, you're in better shape, much better shape.
Yeah, there's been some studies done recently that's something really crazy, like 20 minutes of exercise, like twice a week, improves your overall all-cause mortality score.
Yes.
Just a little bit, moderate stuff, nothing crazy. Like do some push-ups and sit-ups and some jumping jacks, and you're good to go. Just you have to do something that gets your body moving, or it doesn't think that it has to, and it atrophies. It's just it's an unfortunate aspect of our biology that we are not like other animals. And other animals get stronger too as they exercise, but we've all seen animals that are like super muscular that don't do anything. It's just that they're different, and they only live 13 years, right?
Yes.
The whole thing's different.
Yes.
With us, we're this long-term species with intelligence and ego and justifications and all sorts of weird ways that we will procrastinate and justify bad behavior and unhealthy choices, and it's just a constant battle just being a human being, and no one wins that battle. You just win battles.
Yes.
Win like daily battles. No one wins the war.
Everyone dies in the end.
Everyone dies in the end.
But I do, I wrote about this on the Substack. We were just talking before we started about when I didn't see you, but when you were in Vegas in July and I was in Vegas in July for I was playing poker, that gambling is, and I like to gamble. Like I don't have a moral problem with it, but gambling destroys people too. Overeating destroys people. Gambling destroys people.
Gambling destroys
drugs
people.
Destroy people. We as human beings, we've set up all these modern things to take advantage of our dopamine, and we're not really built for it.
We're not, and we're certainly not built for phones. So many people are getting destroyed by social media. Like their lives have become wrapped up in arguing with people, and I just think that's super unhealthy.
Yes.
There's some aspect of it that's very beneficial and positive. I think you get a lot of information that you wouldn't have gotten. I think you get to see people's perspectives that occasionally are very inspiring and very unique and interesting. I love listening or reading things from other people that I think have very good perspectives and interesting perspectives. It's a rare opportunity to talk to people that you wouldn't be able to run into. If we lived in the 1970s, you'd have to cultivate these interesting people like in the physical person, which is probably better for you, right? But not available for most people.
That's right.
And we tend to imitate our atmospheres. And you see that in thought bubbles. And I think that's another problem that we have with social media. And there's these thought bubbles. And people just, you just sort of gravitate towards them. You stay in them. And if you're busy, you just sort of get affirmation from that thought bubble, and you never think outside the box.
Yes. Look, I don't know what we do about social media. I mean, obviously, my career, I guess I was on with you one time before COVID, to talk about cannabis, but
before you got kicked off.
Before I got kicked off Twitter, that's right, and then got put back.
Well, let's talk about that, because you came on for your book that I've referenced many times, and it's called "Tell Your Children," and I think it's important. I think when we talk about these things that some people like to use recreationally, like even gambling, like you talked about, we have to be aware that there's consequences to these things too. It's not an even ride. It's not like every person is going to handle every situation well. Now, we had a podcast yesterday with Kurt Angle, Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, and he was the WWE champion, amazing guy. And he had a real pill problem. And he had a pill problem because he broke his neck like 5 times. And he wrestled in the Olympics with a broken neck.
Wow.
Broken vertebrae in his neck and won.
Wow.
I mean, just the freak of freaks. But
so he can do that, but
But he got hooked.
He got hooked.
He got hooked. I mean, this is like a man whose mind is as strong as any fucking human who's ever walked the face of the earth. If you can win the gold medal in the Olympics in wrestling, wrestling is one of the most competitive, grueling, insane physical contests that are in the Olympics.
Right.
It's like boxing and wrestling are two of the craziest.
Yes.
Judo's pretty crazy. But God, those guys are strong mentally. And for that guy to get hooked on pills. A guy like that, imagine.
Because it's not about how strong you are. It's just if they click with you in some way, you're going to have a problem.
And I also had Peter Berg on the podcast, who's brilliant. And Peter, who did that film for Netflix, this series that's out now, Painkiller, he said he tried an OxyContin once recreationally. And he was like, oh, my God, this is amazing. I could never do this again. I'll never do this again. But he's got a mindset that can see that and go, oh, I see where this is going.
Right. So look, there's always been this stuff. And, the legalizers, whether it's drug legalizers or people who, want more gambling, they always say the same thing. Well, you can't really stop people from doing it. And so you got to make it safe for them. Here's the problem with that. Here's the flip side of that. When you legalize it or normalize it, you wind up opening it to people who otherwise wouldn't do it.
True.
And let me go back to gambling because I think it's a little bit less emotionally charged for people. Once upon a time, if you wanted to gamble legally, you had to go to Las Vegas, basically, or maybe Atlantic City after 1978. But basically, you had to go out to the desert and find that gambling. And maybe
and deal with the mob.
That's right. Or if you wanted to, if you wanted to bet football, like you could probably find a bookie. You could call a friend who called a friend, and you could. But it was going to be some guy who might break your arm if you didn't pay.
Right.
Okay. So you could do it, but it was discouraged and not that easy.
Right.
Now we have gambling in 23 states. We have lotteries on every corner, and just in the last 5 years, we have sports betting on your phone. In many states. So it couldn't be easier. So what does that mean? It means it's going to wreck people who would never have been available to before. And so
that's just a function of freedom, right?
Well, freedom would be go to Vegas and do it, and we're not going to really judge you for it, but you got to go get it.
So make it less accessible.
That's right. This is more, we're going to promote this because both private interests and the state governments make money from it.
Right.